Daily Words of God.
The source of the revelation of man's corrupt disposition is nothing more than his dulled conscience, his malicious nature, and his unsound sense. If man's conscience and sense are able to return to normal, then he will become fit for use before God. It is simply because man's conscience has always been numb. Man's sense has never been sound and is increasingly dull, that man is increasingly rebellious toward God, such that he even nailed Jesus to the cross and has refused God incarnate of the last days entry into his home, and condemns God's flesh, and sees God's flesh as vile and lowly. If man had but a little humanity, he would not be so cruel in his treatment of God become flesh. If he had but a little sense, he would not be so vicious in his treatment of the flesh of God incarnate. If he had but a little conscience, he would not be so grateful to God incarnate in this way. Man lives in the era of God become flesh, yet he is incapable of thanking God for giving him such a good opportunity, and instead curses the coming of God, or completely ignores the fact of God's incarnation, and is seemingly against it and weary of it. Regardless of how man treats the coming of God, God, in short, has always carried on with his work regardless, even though man has not been the slightest bit welcoming toward him and blindly makes requests of him. Man's disposition has become supremely vicious. His sense has grown supremely dull, and his conscience has been completely trampled by the evil one, and long ago ceased to be the original conscience of man. Man is not only ungrateful to God incarnate for bestowing so much life and grace upon mankind, but has even become resentful toward God for giving him the truth. It is because man has not the slightest interest in the truth that he is resentful toward God. Not only is man unable to lay down his life for God incarnate, but he also tries to extract favors from him and makes demands of God that are dozens of times greater than what man has given to God. People of such conscience and sense take all this as a given and still believe that they have expended so much for God and that God has given them too little. There are people who have given me a bowl of water, yet held out their hands and demanded the equivalent of 2 bowls of milk, or have given me a room for one night, but tried to charge me many times more in accommodation fees. With such a humanity and such a conscience, how could you still wish to gain life? What contemptible wretches you are! It is because of this humanity and conscience of man that God incarnate wanders across the land, with no place to find shelter. Those who are truly possessed of conscience and humanity should worship and wholeheartedly serve God incarnate, not because of how much work he has done, but even if he were to do no work at all. This is what should be done by those who are of sound sense, and it is the duty of man. Most people even speak of conditions in their service to God. They do not care whether he is God or a man, and they only talk of their own conditions and only pursue the achievement of their own desires. When you cook for me, you demand chef's fees. When you run for me, you ask for running fees. When you work for me, you demand work fees. When you wash my clothes, you demand laundry fees. When you provide for the church, you demand recuperation costs. When you speak, you demand speaker's fees. When you give out books, you demand distribution fees. And when you write, you demand writing fees. Those I have dealt with even demand recompense from me, while those who have been sent home demand reparations for the damage to their name. Those who are unmarried demand a dowry or compensation for their lost youth. Those who kill a chicken demand butcher's fees. Those who fry food demand frying fees. And those who make soup demand payment for that too. This is your lofty and mighty humanity, and these are the actions dictated by your warm conscience. Where is your sense? Where is your humanity? Let me tell you, if you carry on like this, I will cease to work among you. I will not work among a pack of beasts in human attire. I will not suffer thus for such a group of people whose fair face hides a feral heart. I will not endure for such a pack of animals that has not the slightest possibility of salvation. The day I turn my back on you is the day you die. It is the day that darkness comes upon you, and the day that you are forsaken by the light. Let me tell you, I will never be benevolent to a group such as yours, a group which is beneath even animals. There are limits to my words and actions, and with your humanity and conscience as they are, I will do no more work, for you are too lacking in conscience. You have caused me too much pain, and your despicable behavior disgusts me too much. People who are so lacking in humanity and conscience will never have the chance of salvation. I would never save such heartless and ungrateful people. When my day comes, I will rain down my scorching flames for all eternity upon the children of disobedience that once provoked my fierce wrath. I will impose my everlasting punishment upon those animals that once hurled invective at me and forsook me. I will burn for all time with the fires of my anger the sons of disobedience that once ate and lived together with me, but did not believe in me, and insulted and betrayed me. I will subject all those who provoked my anger to my punishment. I will rain down the entirety of my anger upon those beasts that once wished to stand shoulder to shoulder with me, yet did not worship or obey me. The rod with which I strike man will fall upon those animals who once enjoyed my care and the mysteries that I spoke, and who tried to take material enjoyments from me. I will be forgiving of no person who tries to take my place. I will spare none of those who attempt to wrest food and clothes from me. For now, you remain free from harm and continue to overreach yourselves in the demands you make of me. When the day of wrath arrives, you will not make any more demands of me. At that time, I will let you enjoy yourselves to your heart's content. I will force your face into the earth, and you will never be able to get up again. Sooner or later, I am going to repay this debt to you, and I hope you patiently await the arrival of this day.